Okay, so do players need moving on? Do we need reinforcements? Yeah, of course we do. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. Welcome to the channel that brings you your team every single day, guys. Guys, remember to smash the sub, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on the content. Guys, just finished work recording this at midnight. Late, man, late one. Been around a horrible city called Birmingham. Ooh, not nice, not a nice place, guys. If you're from Birmingham, you have my deepest sympathies. Anyway, let's talk Rangers. Let's talk about a team from a fantastic city north of the border. Let's talk all things Glasgow Rangers. Now, Philippe Clement is bound to want to strengthen his squad a little bit in January. And let's face it, look, he's bound to have been promised some cash because what manager would take a job when you told you haven't got any money? I mean, yeah, there are managers out there that do it. Look at lower league clubs in England and in Scotland. But he's obviously been promised some money. But I think he knows, we know, the club's higher echelons know. I think everyone knows that there are players within the squad who need to be moved on. Now, some of those, maybe you'll be able to make decisions over them in January. You're going to have to make decisions over Lundstrom, over Barisich, and over Roof in January, given the fact that all three of them will be out of contract. And we really don't want to repeat of the Morelos, Arfield, Kent, Hellander, etc. situation where they walk for nothing. I don't include McGregor in that, obviously, because he retired. So, look, we do need a solution to them. So that's something that's going to have to happen. And if it is that they decide that, the club decide to try and cash in on them in January, then so be it. The situation is such that if you're not going to tie them down to a new deal, you need to get money for them when you can. And that's just a fact. We don't want to be in a situation where we are allowing players to leave for nothing. That is not the trading model. That is not how you're going to get cash. Have we got a lot of money to spend? No, we haven't. Let's be absolutely honest about this. The accounts should get a £252,000 profit, which is poor. In terms of our turnover, we're operating at this moment way below that lot from across the city. We do need to expand that. So there's not going to be a plentiful, bountiful supply of money, and it may be a case that players need to leave before players are brought in. Now, obviously, we have a number of saleable assets at the club. Some of them, I think, will depart January. Some of them will depart summer. Yanis Hadji is a possibility to depart in the summer. I think that's probably my dog itched himself and made himself squeal. Weird. Yeah, so let me just, what was I saying again? The dog so rudely interrupted the video. Oh yeah, I was talking about the fact that obviously we need to bring in money and that Yanis Hadji is a saleable asset. I think that anything on Hadji will be more likely to be done at the end of the season. Resale value on Hadji, look, it's Yanis Hadji. He's a name and he's a good player and he's had a great time in Spain. And if he can do well, even better in this second part of the season, then you could be looking somewhere between 5 and 7 million for Yanis Hadji. I think that's more than realistic. If someone like Galatasaray was to come in for him, or someone of that ilk, or even an English Premier League club, you could obviously get an awful lot of cash for him. Obviously, he does seem though to be in love with playing in Spain. So obviously, that's one saleable asset. Now, someone who could be on their way out of the club in January or in the summer is Rvan Yilmar. Now, Yilmaz has, I think it's fair to say, not really 100% settled in Scotland. He's obviously had a very checkered injury history, missing an awful lot of games for the club. Caused even some fans to label him the Turkish Kemar Roof due to the amount of time that he has missed playing for Rangers. He's obviously had a lot of time out with assorted different injuries, assorted issues. And a lot of people sort of talk about Rvan as being someone who, hasn't got the physique or to play in the Scottish game. His height is something that's certainly been picked on, and some hearts targeted in that first game at Ibrox. Now, according to reports in a number of media sources, Rvan Yilmar's agent will meet with Rangers boss Philippe Clement in the coming days to discuss the defender's future. According to a number of Turkish media outlets, the left back is currently apparently weighing up his options and looking possibly for a return to Turkey. He feels that he said the feeling very much is that he's coming out of his camp that Yilmaz is very frustrated with his lack of minutes. He's frustrated at being a backup to Borna Barisich. He feels that he is the player that should be starting the game. And look, all players are like that. All players feel they should start over other players. Clubs that have, kind of been linked with him are obviously all based in Turkey, with Besiktas, Fenerbahce and Gala all reportedly, interested in acquiring Rvan Yilmar. Now, look, Rvan came in for about 4 million, I think it was in the end. he does look. He is a good player, and for me, he's a better left back than Borna Barisich. For me, Dujon Sterling, Robbie Fraser are all better left backs than Borna Barisich. But look, we're going to be stuck with Borna, I think, for a little bit longer. I think Borna will end up getting a new contract. Right? No. Wrong? Yes. I don't think Borna deserves a new contract. I think it's time we moved him on. But I think if that is the case, then it is a case we've got to look at Rvan's future. Rvan is a saleable asset, and if we can recoup the 4 million, or even make a little bit of profit on it at 4.5, then that's what we've got to do. And I think that is a real possibility. You know, if we can get these Turkish clubs interested, if we can get Gala, Fenerbahce, and Besiktas in a bit of a bidding war against each other, then maybe we can get a deal done. Now, that may be January, that may be the end of the season. I don't know. But, given this meeting is coming up in the next couple of days, it does seem that it is pushing towards a move in January rather than a move in the summer. Now, that obviously wouldn't be in Rangers' interest. It would obviously give us an issue at left back. Now, Borna Barisich obviously at the moment is the starter. Whatever we think of Borna Barisich, I know there's some people that think Borna's great, other people think Borna's a waste of space. We all have our own opinions, and this game is a total game of opinions, and we have those people that just don't see any ill in any of the players, and that's fine. That's how they want to see it. Fine if they don't, or you can look as a critical guy, a critical coach, critical friend of the club, and you have to do that to be a proper fan, to be honest with you. But Yilmaz, I think, is a real possibility to be moved on in January. I think he really is. And I think if we can get 4.5 million for him, that would be a decent piece of business. Whether that then means we need to go out into the market to get a left back is another debate. It could be a situation where we do need to address that. Or, we look at Dujon Sterling to play there if fit. Dujon is a guy who can use both feet, can play left back. Is that something we go with until the summer? That is what Philippe Clement will need to decide. And I think that is putting greater emphasis on the need to, I think, put a director of football in place sooner rather than later, someone who can critically evaluate the situation along with the recruitment team, the James Bisgroves, John Parks, Craig Robertsons of this world. So I think, that is something that, looks possible. Now, before we talk about arrivals, there are a couple of possibles that have been mentioned in recent hours, minutes, days, whatever. Another possible departure from the club. Now, this is a bit of a shock one, if I'm being honest with you. Someone that you perhaps would not expect to be linked with a departure from the club, given his form and given how he has been playing for the club in recent times. And that's Ross McCausland. Now, as it stands at this moment in time, Ross has not signed a new contract and will be out of contract. Now, there is a real desire within the club to tie Ross down to a long-term deal. He is clearly seen as one for the future. He's had starts in recent weeks. He's clearly seen as somebody who the club feel can go on to be a great success for Rangers, and he is a very talented player. And certainly, with youth players, it's great to see young players come through your academy. It's great to see young players, to come through and succeed with the first team, because those guys, those kids, they've come through from a very young age. They've bought into the philosophy. They understand what it is to play for the club. They love the club on the whole, most of them. And McCausland's even international now. Yes, I know it's only Northern Ireland, but he's still an international. So there is a real strong desire within the club to be tying him down to a new deal. At this moment in time, that deal isn't going through. Why it isn't going through, I don't know. I'm not privy to negotiations. I haven't got any special inside information on it. It could be a situation where there is a disagreement over money, or a disagreement over length of contract, or even a disagreement over amount of playing time. You can even come down to that. You never know with these players' contracts and how these players will react. Now, according to a lot of reports that are currently circulating down here south of the border, Brentford are very, very interested in young Ross McCausland and could be preparing a bid for him at the end of the season. Now, that is the rumour that is currently doing the rounds here, that McCausland could end up playing in the English Premier League for Brentford. Brentford have, in recent times, become a very established Premier League club. They use the trading model that we use, and they see Ross McCausland as very much fitting in to that trading model, a young player who they can develop, improve, and then possibly sell on in the future for an even bigger profit. Something that obviously that I believe that Rangers should be doing. So a worrying development there on the Ross McCausland front. I certainly hope that Ross doesn't move on, that Ross doesn't end up at Brentford and stays here at Rangers. Look, I know you can accuse me of having blue tinted spectacles on. You can accuse me of being a Rangers fan, which is fine. Please do. I am a die-hard Rangers fan, of course I am. But look, why would you want to move to a club like Brentford? I mean, I'm nothing against Brentford, but yes, they can perhaps offer him a little bit more money. Rangers can offer him first team football, guaranteed. Well, can offer him first team football. We can offer him European football. We can offer him trophy lifts. Can Brentford offer any of those things? Can they guarantee any of those things? Probably not. So for me, it makes very little sense to move to Brentford. Okay, so let's have a look at arrivals. Obviously, the main talking point is around people like Lawrence Shankland. I watched Rangers Review this morning, some good names on there, talking about some of the young Scottish players. And I think we've got to get as a club, get away from the snobbishness that goes towards signing Scottish players. Number one, it will help the homegrown quota. And number two, I think, even if these players don't thrive in Europe, are not brilliant in Europe, they still know the league. They can still thrive in the SPL and help us to become very successful, in a Chris Boyd-esque kind of way. Boydie was brilliant in the SPL, not so great in Europe. So there you go. There's an example, of a player that was probably signed just to help us win the league. And it could be that is a situation that is taken, with players like Lawrence Shankland, Conor Barron, etc., etc. Lennon Miller, or the guy who plays, I think it's Lennon Miller, who plays for Motherwell, or I think it's Motherwell. I forget where he plays for now. Anyway, him, Lennon, what's his face? So yeah, but one ex-Motherwell player that has been linked with a possible return to Scotland and has put Rangers on alert is Kevin Van Veen. Now, Kevin Van Veen was someone who a number of Rangers fans wanted the club to look at when he left Motherwell in the summer. However, it's felt that the club were kind of turned off a little bit by his age because he has absolutely no resale value, which is fair enough. He doesn't. He's 32 years old. He's not going to develop any further. But then again, is Searle Dessers. He's 28 years old. So let's have a look. He's someone who scored 34 goals in 70 appearances for Motherwell. He knows this league. He can score goals in this league. His time at Groningen is officially at an end, and Groningen are looking to get rid of him. He hasn't made a great number of appearances for them. He hasn't done a great deal for Groningen. He hasn't really settled over there. Apparently, his girlfriend is about to give birth to his child, and he wants to come back to Scotland. Apparently, so that's put a lot of clubs on alert. Would Van Veen be a good signing for Rangers? Would he be someone who could come in and perhaps get us the goals to help us keep on pushing for that league title? Could he be a good short-term fill? Especially if we were to say lose Kemar Roof at the end of the season, or to lose Kemar Roof in January. I'm not saying for a minute that Van Veen will be a starter. Not when you've got Danilo. Danilo for me is the out-and-out starter, but a backup for Danilo. I would much rather trust Van Veen up front than Dessers up front. Van Veen is someone who is guaranteed to score you goals at this level, is guaranteed to get goals in the SPL. Like I said, the only worry around Van Veen is his age. If you are signing him, you are not signing him because he's going to be making a profit in the future. So is that a possibility? Is that something we look at? Rangers fans, what do you think? I think personally a good short-term signing. I think he would be spot on. To bring him in, to give him an opportunity to play for the club. I think he'll score at this level. I think he'll score for us, whether it's playing against the low block, high pressing, whatever. I think he could do a decent job for Rangers. Obviously, the other name that is continually linked with the club is Lawrence Shankland. That I've never seen a player. Well, I have actually. There's a number I could name. I'm not going to name them now, but there's Rangers fan base normally gets divided on players, doesn't it? The Fashion Sakala debate of last year, we've had that. Now it's Lawrence Shankland. The guys in play for the club. You've got about 50% of the fan base that don't want Shankland anywhere near the team. You've got 50% of the fan base saying that Shankland will be a fabulous signing for the club. Where does the truth lie? You've got to, I suppose, counter it with the fact that Shankland is 28. It's going to be 29 next season. Again, there's no resale value in Shankland. So, how closely and slavishly are Rangers going to follow this trading model of buying young players to sell on? But I would argue that you cannot solely buy young players. You've got to buy experienced players. You've got to pay fees for experienced players. And some clubs south of the border that are following this trading model and only buying young players have suffered from the fact they haven't got enough experience on their team. I would say that, that again, Shankland would be a decent signing for the club. He'd score goals at this level. Even if he didn't do it in Europe, he would certainly still be able to do it in the SPL. I think he'd still score us enough goals. and he'd still put us in a position where, again, you've got him as a better backup or a better striker than Dessers, a better striker than Lammers, a better striker, well, a fitter striker than Roof. So again, it's more reliable option to back up Danilo, and that's what we've got to be looking for: someone who can back up Danilo and be guaranteed to score you 15, 20 goals, who can guarantee to stay fit, who can be guaranteed to be a useful part of this team. Guys, let me know what you think of the stories we've talked about this morning or this afternoon or this evening, depending obviously when you picked up this video. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, if you smash the sub, that would be really fantastic. Also, guys, on the way out, there's always two things. Always two things I ask of you. Number one, smash the like because it helps the video. And number two, please never forget, we are the people.